Thanks for tuning in today, folks. Hopefully you've watched the first two videos, which is going to be Chucky and Pinhead on how to draw our American traditional style horror tattoos. This video is going to be about Jason Voorhees. Everybody loves a little bit of stabby stab. Let's get all down in the lake water. Photo references are important. Let's figure out how to simplify this design. It's going to be the easiest out of all three, so I probably shouldn't have saved it to last, but oh well. Simplifying that mask is going to be a lot easier than the other two styles, and so yeah, I guess we're saving the simplest for last. So this one's going to be super quick, super fun. That's not true. My videos are never quick, but yeah, let's just get right into it. I'm Clay, the Techie Tattooer. iPad time. All right, folks, so here we are with a super grainy photo I found of Jason from one of the film shots from the movie. If you know the storyline at all from Friday the 13th, you can tell that this is one of the later movies where he's already super zombified and the mask is all jacked up. And so I'm actually going to pull in another photo of the mask and kind of go in between a little bit. This is more that zombies Jason, but I really loved the position of him. And so we're gonna go with that, just because I think it's a great version. I'm just gonna have this little image over here stuck to the side so that I've got the mask holes and whatnot to work from, right, to get the shaping on these correct, just because I think that that's going to be essential to make sure that, from this super grainy image I actually get things correct. Yeah, but let's go ahead. I'm going to drop the opacity way down on that one. We're going to drop the opacity way down on this guy. We're going to think about our framing a little bit on, so I'm jumping to my calligraphy monoline. We'll do like a pink. I don't want to be on that. I'm just going to do my, no, classic. There we are. This is the one I prefer. Choose a red here. Kind of go, well, cool. Let's see. So this is an American traditional Jason. This kind of ends up being the frame area that we're going to want to have, right? Maybe a little bit higher, something kind of like this. And then we want that arm and that knife, that machete, to poke out of the frame, just because I think that's going to be really cool. It's very similar to the Chucky style design that we did before, right? Yep, and with that being my framing, how are we going to choose? What is our frame going to be like for this one? I'm not entirely certain. What are we at? We're at 20% on this. How thick is that? Ooh, that's a little thick. Can we get away with something that thick? We might be able to. Let's size this up ever so slightly, realizing that we're going to go super thick on this line work here. What does that look like? That's too big. A little bit smaller in the size up. So about there. There we are. And yet with that 20% on a 300 DPI, 8.5 by 11. All right. So I am just going to go ahead and start with these arms and shoulders here, and that, what do we call that? Jumpsuit, I guess, right? And so we're going to start with this jumpsuit. Get that zipper line in there. Get this collar going. No, I don't like that. We're going to bring the collar a little bit lower down. Give it one of those. That is much better. Yep, I like that much better. Got to get his big old bulky chest coming out of this. Not quite so bulky. We'll make him a little bit buffer there. Yeah, I like that. Then we're going to get his arm in. Making sure to kind of like, well, his shoulder's back there. So now he's got his bicep coming out like this. Give it a little clothing loop. Something like that. One of these. Some of that stuff. Some rankles. And then we're going to bring this line around. This line around. Right, because you'll notice now we're kind of following the lines that he's already got existing in his silhouette, but we're simplifying them way down to work with our American traditional style line work, right? Even though, I will bring his arm a little bit closer in like that. It actually doesn't look bad at all. We're going to call that good for that. He does have some interesting gloves on. So I'm going to bring the gloves out just a little bit there so that you can tell he's got gloves on. Bring that thumb in a little bit of a crease. Yes and no. I don't like how pointy that thumb is. There we are. And then the base of the palm. We'll get this palm in there like that. Yep. And then let's see here. So the machete base isn't really visible. This is it right here, this little shadow mark. So we're actually going to make it a little bit bigger. We are going to make that a little bit bigger. Bring a nice machete line in here. And then we're actually going to bring this up and over like that so that you can see that machete handle really clearly on the outside of his hand there. Yep. Shallower curve. There we go. Bring this straight line down into here, into the handle. Clean this up. Yep, not bad for the machete. Okay. Get his fingers in. Right, that should work out pretty darn good. Because now we've got the little bit of this palm lump that goes over, and then it also cuts in, right? So we've got a nice section there. Maybe even add a little bit of that to make it, so the glove has a wrist. I don't like how flat this collar side is laying, so I'm going to pop it up just a smidge. And we're going to do that same kind of thing where we've got this lump indicating the fold. Bringing this up. Collar feels too big. Much better, right? And you notice I did cut it in. You can see the outline of it over there, and that's just, nope, I don't really like how that original silhouette goes. Okay. And we've got his big old buff shoulder coming out from here. Just straight out like that. We'll give it a little bit of this seam in the shirt. I'm going to extend this just a little bit more because I'm not entirely certain where the silhouette's really going to come through there. And then we're going to add this with that for a little bit of wrinkle in the shirt. And then maybe even a little bit more parallel to those lines. Yeah, there we are. That's what I'm looking for there. Because you can't actually see the zipper in a jumpsuit like that. I don't know if y'all know that or care, but you can't, because there's a little flap that goes over the zipper so it doesn't get busted up when you're doing real work, not like tattooing or drawing for a living. Okay, now I've started a new layer so that way we can do the mask in and I can make any edits there that we want. Because I'm going to kind of fudge the difference between these, right? Like the things we want to think about are how it's got these 3 straps on it, right? We're definitely going to want to see if we can get, maybe we won't get the top one in because it'll be hidden, but we'll want to get those 2 side straps in, making sure they come out at the temples just above the eyeballs. And then I'm going to want to make that a smoother line here and not go for quite such a zombified Jason look. So then let's see, it comes down well below the chin, and we're just going to want a nice angle like that. Nice angle like this. Oh, it's not quite so teardrop shaped, is it? I'm going to hold that down. Hold this down. And then connect that chin. There we are. That's a little bit better, but I'm not sure it's really getting the angle, how his face is kind of tilted like that. So we may mess around with this a little bit. Yeah, we'll see if this really gets us what we want. Yeah, we'll see about that. Okay, so then let's block in the eyes. They are pretty much just pure circles, aren't they? Yep. So we're going to go for a sort of an elongated circle, even though that's not what we're showing in the mask. The reason we're choosing an elongated circle is because we want to show that perspective faked a little bit, right? So that it looks like he's looking up. Yup. And then he's got the red V in the middle of the forehead there. He's got one dot here directly in the nose hole. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Keeping that same curve going. Right, yep. And then he's got 3 in the cheeks there. 1, 2, 3. A little bit further away from the nose hole. 1, 2, and 3. Yep. And then 4 above his eyebrows. So equidistant kind of here and here. Yep. And then they curve up like that. And that. But we do want them relatively evenly spaced. And then 1, 2 to make 3 on the way up. 1, 2, right? Making sure to curve these to follow the shape of that mask. Give that some topographical accuracy, as it were. 1, 2, and 3. And then because there's not really room, probably just 1 on the other side. Yep, I'm thinking that's all we've really got room for, because we're going to show that that kind of dips around that curve that you can't see. That's not tall enough. You'll notice those are actually a bit higher because we've got to have room for the triangle in there, and I didn't really do that well. And so I'm going to go ahead and call that good. I'm going to bring these down ever so slightly, like that, and that. There we are. That's a little bit better for how this is kind of pieced out. And if we're going to be super picky, I'm actually going to tilt these a little bit and bring them further up as well. There we are. Yep, but that's just me being super picky. And you know, I actually don't like that one there. Yeah, we're going to cut that one out, I think, I believe, possibly. Yeah, we'll call that good for now. Oh, not quite, though, because remember, we have to have room for his straps above his temples. Yep, and he needs room for his temple straps. So let's go ahead and kind of mock in this neck now. Okay, let me go look at another couple pictures of Jason really quick. I'll be right back. So, with a couple more reference photos of Jason, we have sans hair Jason and with hair Jason. So, yeah, those are both a thing. Ugh. I'm not sure how I want to do that then. I was kind of feeling like maybe the hair wasn't the way to go. And I am almost wondering if no hair is going to be a more accurate, freakier Jason. So I'm on a new layer again because I'm making decisions that I'm not sure I'm going to want to stick with. We're going to give him a big, thick neck. See, in this photo, he's got that big, thick neck, but he never really does. And I'm not sure I like how that's limiting me. Or rather, I'm not sure I like that. So we're going to cut and paste this out. Stick these onto one layer. And then I'm going to bring that mask down a bunch. Maybe even make it a smidge bigger. Right? I think I like that better. Because then we're going to stick back of his head in like this. Nope, that's too big. And that feels too narrow. I think my mask might be a little too flat looking for what I'm going for here. So we're going to duplicate this. We're duplicating it just in case I don't agree with the choices I'm making. See, that looks better, doesn't it? That does look a little bit better. Yeah, I think that is better. Okay, yep, we're going to go with that. And that means I'm going to bring this forward a little bit. Tilt it a little bit more. Okay, yep, better, better. Now, yeah, that's better, okay. Better, okay, okay, cool. No, those need to be a little bit higher. It's going to be right here. Right here. Okay. Duplicate it just in case I don't like the changes I'm making by erasing these lines out. That one I'm not going to worry about. Better, better. Okay. bit of stretch to that with some wrinkle there. All right, so let's go ahead and call that good for the line work on our Jason. And now that we're doing a Jason tattoo, we got to think about what's thematically good for a Jason tattoo. And if you know your Jason lore, I think what we need is some kind of like wooden camp sign looking background here. Why not? Yeah, we'll call that good. And then I'm just going to be brave, stick everything onto one layer, duplicate it, turn this into the reference layer, and start making choices for shading. So because this is a little bit weird, right, and we have this in the background and then this cutting him off, we're going to do one of these. Little gradient having him fade into the edge of this. And then maybe we'll do another one of those fading behind him there. That might look good. Am I on the right layers? I am on the right layers. Good, good. Yeah, let's do that to give that blade a little bit of shing. So we'll get rid of that. We'll get rid of this. Keep that reference up. Let's go on to color and see what we've got here. So the first thing I'm going to want to do is ink in the red triangle. Whoops, that's not going to be the right reference layer, so that's not going to work. And then we're going to want to just dip in a funky yellowy mask color. Put some shading on that. Yep. get that nose in. Shoot, guys. I think that might be it. I think that kind of works for a American traditional Jason Voorhees tattoo. It's a little bit clean, right? You could throw some more detail levels in and make this a little bit dirtier and this, that, and the other, and add some, um, brown stains into his actual clothing if you wanted to. Um, right? You need to do those kinds of texture things, right? Depending on how dirty and gnarly you wanted to make this versus how clean and that kind of thing, right? That would totally make sense. You could absolutely do that, right? I would get it if you wanted to make some updates like that and just, give Jason a little bit more textury goodness, right? That could make a lot of sense. You could do the same kind of thing for the mask, right? You could texture that up a little bit, make it a little grosser, depending how you wanted to have that Jason come out, right? That's absolutely acceptable, but you don't have to, right? That's pretty fun, right? You got the camp sign background, housing unit, whatever you want to call that, and then the Jason Voorhees tattoo. Dirty or clean? Dirty, clean, dirty, clean, dirty, clean. Right? And so that's just going to be up to your own choices as an artist and how you want to make that happen. But I knew Jason was going to be the easiest one because he's a relatively simple design. It's just a dude in a jumpsuit who you don't want to mess with. Also, right, of course, because I always got to add, more. It would also be very appropriate to add some blood to that, right? So, whoops. That also makes a lot of sense as the design, right? A little bit dirty, a little bit bloodier, a little bit grosser, and that's just going to be how you folks want to do things and how you want to make your Jason tattoo. So thanks again for watching, folks. Like, comment, subscribe, do all that kind of stuff. Let me know if I should have done anything different or what your takeaways were from this. And yeah, thanks for watching, guys. I really appreciate you, and I'll catch you next time.